Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 2021 Hazardous Waste Annual Report Workshop. My name is Jennifer Williams, and I am an environmental scientist in the Waste Notifications and Reporting section. The purpose of this workshop is to make the hazardous waste annual reporting process easier to understand and complete. Today, we will go over the paper submittal process. Some quick housekeeping before we begin. All information contained herein is provided solely for educational purposes. It is not intended as a substitute for professional or legal advice. Should you decide to act upon any information contained in this presentation, you do so at your own risk. While the information posted has been verified to the best of our abilities, we cannot guarantee that there are no mistakes or errors. So topics we will discuss include who has to submitting the biennial report, and walkthroughs of the HW1 form and RCRA Subtitle C reporting forms. The department will continue to use RCRA info for the electronic option for the 2021 report. You can find links to the forms and RCRA info at our website. Contact info will also be provided for the Waste Notifications and Reporting Group, Surveillance Regional Offices, and the Small Business Assistance Program. A slide of helpful online resources will be provided at the end of the workshop. You can submit your questions at any time using the questions and answers button and note the specific form and/or section of your question. Questions will be answered at the end of the workshop. This workshop will be recorded and posted on our website and YouTube channel later for easy review. And also, just a remark before we continue, you may have noticed that biennial report was used on the previous slide. The EPA requires the RCRA hazardous waste report to be submitted every other year, which is called the biennial report. But since Louisiana requires a RCRA hazardous waste report to be submitted every year, we refer to it as the annual report. So who has to submit the annual report? A facility that met the definition of a large quantity generator, a facility that treats, stores, disposes, or recycles hazardous waste on site or shipped the hazardous waste off site to a TSD facility, or a facility that receives waste from off-site generators. An easy way that we check to see if you need to submit the report is if you are currently or were at one point in the year registered as a large quantity generator. Reports are due March 1st of the following calendar year that the facility identified as a large quantity generator. The HW1 and site identification form are interchangeable. If you did not generate waste, it will be easier to use the HW1 form. You want to make sure all applicable forms are completed, double check for original signatures in the certification section, and mail the completed forms. The forms must be postmarked by March 1st. Also, 2 addresses are listed due to issues with FedEx not accepting the PO box address, so our physical address can be used as another option to mail the paper forms. The site identification form is fulfilling the re-notification requirement of large quantity generators. So the information should pertain to the current status of the facility. The GM, WR, and OI form is describing the hazardous waste and how it was managed from the reporting year. The Waste Notifications and Reporting Group cannot give you specifics on how to classify your waste, nor classify your facility's regulated hazardous waste activities. You will need to contact surveillance in your region. The surveillance regional office contact information will be given at the end of the presentation. Submitting the hazardous waste annual report electronically using the RCRA info reporting module is highly encouraged. If you start to submit electronically but wish to submit via a paper submittal, the electronic submission must be fully deleted in RCRA info. And make sure you're using the most recent version of the HW1. If you generated hazardous waste, you will have to use some federal forms, and I will go over those specific forms later. There's also a link to the HW1 form at our website. Section 1 is the reason for the submittal, and only one option should be chosen. Provide initial notification is used when a facility is submitting to obtain an EPA ID number for the first time. Provide subsequent notification is used when a facility is updating info or re-notifying. As a component of the annual hazardous waste report for reporting year is used when submitting the hazardous waste annual report, and the reporting year should be indicated. The site was a TSD generator box should be marked if it applies to the facility. Submittal of a new Part A form and submittal of a revised Part A form for the hazardous waste is for hazardous waste permits. And the last option to provide notification of large quantity generator site closure for a central accumulation area or entire facility is used when submitting to close a large quantity generator. Again, if you want to use this form for the annual report, then you must mark the corresponding box for that option. Also, make sure that you're putting the correct reporting year. If the facility was a TSD or a large quantity generator, then this box needs to be marked. And most facilities that should be submitting this form should mark this box. This EPA ID box will be located at the top of each page. Please list your EPA ID on each page, and this will help to keep your report together. Section 2 EPA ID. Make sure this is your correct 12-digit number. For help finding the facility's agency interest number, you can contact LDEQ or use EDMS. Section 3, legal name. You can check what the current information for the facility is at ricrepublic.epa.gov to make sure it matches. You will be amazed how many different names get inputted for the same facility. Section 4, site location. This is the physical address of the facility. Longitude and latitude coordinates can be used here as well. Section 5, site mailing address. If this matches the site location, then mark the box and leave the section blank. Section 7, NAICS. You must have at least one valid 6-digit code. NAICS.com is a great resource. And also you can use EDMS to find past annual report submittals or an HW1 to figure out what was previously submitted. And Section 8, site contact person. This is who we will contact about any issues on the form. So make sure this information is up to date and as accurate as possible. Section 9, legal owners and operators. A legal owner of the facility is who owns the business. Legal owner of the property is who owns the land. And legal operator is who runs the business. We're looking for the most accurate contact information for the owners and operators. And they can all match or they can all be different. If the legal owner of the property or legal operator matches the owner of the facility, you can mark the box instead of inputting the information. Also, the dates should be the best date that is available to you and must be complete and in month, day, year format. Section 10, type of regulated waste activities for current activities. Section 10A, 1, generator of hazardous waste. This section is describing the current status of the facility, not what the facility was during the reporting year. Section A2, if yes is marked, a short-term generator must provide details in section 18 comments. And sections A 3 through A5, if marking yes, do you have a hazardous waste permit, the proper approval? If not, are you really a TSD, receive waste from offsite, or recycle hazardous waste? We will verify this information. And for section A6, exempt boiler and/or industrial furnace, mark yes for all options that apply to the facility. Section 10B, waste codes. You must have at least one valid waste code listed. You can find them in the RCRA Subtitle C reporting instructions, Louisiana Administrative Code Title 33, Part 5, Chapter 4901, or a list can be emailed upon request. Please list the waste codes in order starting in the top left, moving to the right. If you need more space, you can use the comment section. And Louisiana does not have state hazardous waste codes. Waste notifications and reporting cannot give you specifics for this section. However, you can contact your regional surveillance office to assist. For section 11, additional regulated waste activities, if any of these sections apply to your facility, mark yes. For section A1B, if yes is marked, do you have the proper approval? You also must provide details in the comments section. And for section B2, if yes is marked, do you have a permit? DEQ will verify if you have the proper permit or approval. Section 11C, used oil activities. For C1B, if yes is marked, does the facility have the proper approval? We will verify the approval and details must be provided in the comments section. And for section D, pharmaceutical activities notification should be submitted to the EPA because Louisiana has not adopted this program. Section 12 through 15. For section 12, eligible academic entities with laboratories, those notifications should be submitted to the EPA because Louisiana has not adopted this activity. If you check yes to either section 13 or 14, then you will need to complete Addendum B or Addendum C respectively. You do not have to notify about episodic generation or complete section 15 for the hazardous waste annual report. If section 16 is marked yes, then Addendum A should be completed. Section 17, electronic manifest broker notifications should be submitted to the EPA because Louisiana has not adopted this program. And for section 18, comments. Comments are needed if you mark that you are a transfer facility, didn't generate any hazardous waste, but were registered as a large quantity generator, or the facility is a short-term generator. Also, if you are making any changes on the notification, then you will also need to input details here. Section 19, we will not accept the HW1 form without an original wet ink signature and complete date. A certifier must be someone with authority in the facility. An authorized representative is someone who is responsible for the overall operation of the site or an operational unit. Addendum A, you complete this page if yes is marked in section 16. You are required to submit this information on the 2021 biennial report. You must complete all of section 2. And we're aware of this typo and we're correcting it. And here are some examples of the HSM facility codes. You can find these on pages 101 through 102 of the RCRA Subtitle C reporting instructions. And here are also examples of land-based unit codes. And these can be found on page 103 of the Subtitle C reporting instructions. Addendum B, episodic generator. You do not have to report this waste on the GM form. If you marked yes in section 14, then you must fill out Addendum C. The very small quantity generators should have an EPA ID if they are located in Louisiana. And you can see the facility's EPA ID by going to ricrepublic.epa.gov. Moving on to the RCRA Subtitle C reporting forms, this booklet has about 123 pages of helpful info. It has tables of facility codes, hazardous waste codes, etc., that should answer many of your questions. The HW1 form is based off the site identification form, so you will notice that some information will be similar. Similar to the HW1 form, Section 1 of the site identification form has multiple options for the reason for submittal. If you want to use this form for the annual report, then you must check the corresponding box for that option. Also, make sure that you're including the correct year for the report. If the facility was a TSD or a large quantity generator, then this box will need to be marked. Section 2, EPA ID, make sure this is your correct 12-digit number. Also, please list the AI next to the EPA ID. Section 3, legal site name. You can check what the current information for the facility is at ricrepublic.epa.gov to make sure it matches. Section 4, site location address. That's the physical address of the facility. Section 5, site mailing address. If this matches the location, then just mark the box and leave the section blank. Section 6, mark the correct box for the site land type. Section 7, NAICS code. Again, you must have at least one valid 6-digit code. And also you will see that there is a place to input page numbers. Please input page numbers to keep the form in order. And at the top of every page, you will see this EPA ID number section. Fill in your EPA ID number. This will help keep your report together. For Section 8, site contact information, if the address is the same as the location address, then mark this box. This box does not add the email, name, and phone number. It only copies the address. Please make sure this is the best contact for any hazardous waste questions, because this person will be contacted if there are any issues with the form. For Section 9, legal owner and operator of the site should include the most accurate information for the owners and operators. If the legal owner does not match the legal property owner, then the property owner will need to be listed in Section 18 comments. If they do match, make a note in the owner comments section in Section 9A. If the legal owner and legal operator address matches the facility's address, you can mark the box instead of inputting the address. And the box will only copy the address. The name and contact info still needs to be completed. If the owner operator addresses do not match the facility, then those sections need to be completed fully. And also the dates should be the best date that is available to your knowledge. It should be complete and in month, day, year format. There is a place at the bottom right of every page for you to list page numbers. Again, this will help keep your report in order. Section 10, type of regulated waste activities. For Section 10A1, it's the generator of hazardous waste. Again, this section is describing the current status of the facility, not what the facility was during the reporting year. For Section A2, if yes is marked, a short-term generator must provide details in the Section 18 comments. Sections A3 through 5, in marking yes, do you have a hazardous waste permit or the proper approval? For Section A6, mark yes for all options that apply to the facility. Section 10B, again, you must have at least one valid waste code listed. You can find them in the RCRA Subtitle C reporting instructions, Louisiana Administrative Code Title 33, Part 5, Chapter 4901, or again, a list can be emailed upon request. Please list the waste codes in order, starting in the top left, moving to the right. If you need more space, you can use the comment section. For Section 10C, Louisiana does not have state hazardous waste codes. Section 11A, other waste activities, and Section 11B, universal waste activities. If any of these activities apply to the facility, mark yes. And if yes is marked for Section A1B or B2, we will verify the proper permit or approval. Section 11C, used oil activities. If any of these activities apply to the facility, mark yes. And if yes is marked for C1B, do you have the proper approval? For Section 11D and Section 12, notifications should be submitted to the EPA because Louisiana has not adopted these activities. If you mark yes for Section 13, then you must complete the addendum to the site identification form, Episodic Generator. If you mark yes for Section 14, then you must complete the addendum to site identification form, Large Quantity Generator, Consolidation of VSQG Hazardous Waste. You do not have to complete Section 15 for the annual report. If yes is marked for Section 16, Notification of Hazardous Secondary Material activity, then you must complete addendum to the site identification form, Notification of Hazardous Waste Secondary Material activity. For Section 17, electronic manifest broker notifications should be submitted to the EPA because Louisiana has not adopted this program. And for Section 18, comment section, if you mark that you are a transfer facility, didn't generate any hazardous waste, but were registered as a large quantity generator, mark yes for short-term generator, or you're making any changes to the notification, then you will need to input the details here. And the form will not be accepted without an original wetting signature and complete date. Only one signature is needed for the annual report. A certifier must be someone with authority in the facility. An authorized representative is someone who is responsible for the overall operation of the site or an operational unit. And you only need to complete this if you mark yes on question 16. You're required to submit this information on the 2021 biennial report. You must complete Section 2. And here are some examples of the HSM facility codes. You can find these on pages 101 through 102 of the RCRA Subtitle C reporting instructions. Also examples of land-based unit codes. These can be found on page 103 of the RCRA Subtitle C reporting instructions. Section 13, episodic generation. You do not have to report this waste on the GM form. And if yes was marked in Section 14, then you must fill out the LQG Consolidation form. The VSQG should have an EPA ID number. You can see the facility's EPA ID by going to ricrepublic.epa.gov. For the generation and management form, known as the GM form, it describes the waste that was generated and managed at your facility. It is up to the facility to determine the waste codes or descriptions of the waste activities. For this form, you want to make sure to remember to list the facility's EPA ID number at the top of the page. For Section 1A, waste description, We need just a short explanation of the waste, the general type, source, type of hazard, and generic chemical name. For 1B, EPA Hazardous Waste Code, it's 4-digit codes that applies to the waste. You inputted these in section 10B on both forms. For section 1D, only one source code per GM form. The easiest place to find these is the RCRA Subtitle C reporting instructions on pages 104 through 105. And if you use G25, treatment disposal recycling code, then you must insert the management method code. You can find these codes on pages 108 through 109 of the instructions. Otherwise, leave blank. If you use G62, receive waste from outside of the United States, then you must insert the code for the country which sent you the waste. Otherwise, leave blank. For 1E, only one form code per GM form. You can find these in the RCRA Subtitle C reporting instructions on pages 106 through 107. And 1F waste minimization code. These codes can also be found in the RCRA Subtitle C reporting instructions on pages 110 through 111. For section 1G, yes or no must be marked. For section 1H, unit of measurement, we can only accept these unit of measurement codes. You can find these on pages 63 through 64 of the RCRA Subtitle C reporting instructions. You only have to complete the density section if you choose unit of measurement codes 5, 6, or 7. That's gallons, liters, or cubic yards. And don't forget to mark the unit of measurement for the density. Sections 2 and 3. For number 2, did you treat on site? If yes, select the management method code and quantity. You can find the management method codes on pages 108 through 109. For section number 3, did you ship off site? If yes, input the EPA ID of the receiving facility, select the management method code they used, and quantity that was shipped to them. This should be all on the manifest they send you. That's the management method codes. And for 3B, make sure the EPA ID actually exists and that it's 12 characters. You will need this information for the OI form. If the quantity generation noted in section 1H does not match the quantity treated in section 2 or the quantity shipped off, then explain the discrepancy in the comment section. And the page numbers restart for the GM form. So if you needed 3 GM forms, then your pages would be 1 of 3, 2 of 3, and 3 of 3. Waste received from offsite, the WR form. It describes the waste that your facility received from offsite facilities. You want to list the facility's EPA ID number at the top of the page. This is similar to the generation and management form. The major difference is you have to list the EPA ID number of the generating facility in 1D. Check RCRA Public to verify that the EPA ID you're listing is a valid EPA ID number. And just for reiteration, the form codes are on pages 106 through 107, management codes, pages 108 through 109, and unit of measurement codes, page 63. You only have to complete the density and density unit of measurement portion if you choose unit of measurement codes 5, 6, or 7. And there are 3 sections per page for different wastes. And for this form, the page numbers restart. So if you have 3 pages, it will be 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3. Off-site identification, OI form. It lists the sites that transported the waste, the sites that received the waste, and if applicable, the facilities that shipped waste to you. List the facility's EPA ID number at the top of the page. The manifest should have all this information. You can double check on RIC Republic. And for section 1C, don't forget to mark the correct classification. It is rare that the same EPA ID number will be a transporter and generator. You can double check this by looking up their profile on RIC Republic to make sure that they have transporter listed on their profile. And again, the page numbers restart for the OI form as well. Now, this concludes the instructions on the Hazardous Waste Annual Report paper submittal process. Again, electronic submittals using the RCRA Info reporting module are highly encouraged, but we will accept a paper submission as well. The next slides include contact information and helpful resources that assist with the submission of the Hazardous Waste Annual Report and other inquiries you may have. The Waste Notifications and Reporting Group will be the best resource if you have any questions. Everyone within this group has access to the email listed below, HW1 form assistance@la.gov. And for the surveillance regional offices, please use the parish of the facility's physical location to determine the surveillance regional office. Also, surveillance regional offices, phone numbers, faxes, and emails on this slide. And if you are classified as a small business, the Small Business Assistance Program is another resource. Please note that the Small Business Assistance Program regions are different from the surveillance regions. And here are some other helpful online resources: NAICS website, links to the state and federal forms and info, and EDMS if you would like to review past submissions.